Good afternoon. Let's go ahead and get started. Have a seat. Please silence your cell phones. And for guests and visitors, my name is Joe Patchen. I'm president of the Dublin Worthington Rotary Club this year, and I'd like to welcome you all to the 7th meeting of the 51st year of our club. And our invocation and pledge will be offered by Shirley Miller on the Rotary Board.
When we are frustrated during the confusing time, help us find calm and grace so that we can extend it to others. Help us embrace the joy and the changing of the season and gratitude for your creation. Amen. Amen.
Introduced by Emily Biondo. I like this mobile mic thing.
A couple of guests with us here today. Our first guest is Laura Armstrong. So welcome, Laura. And the second guest here today is Brad Walker. Has been a guest with us before. Welcome, Brad.
And Emily, can I introduce a couple of people because they're going to get a sooner later. We know technically they're guests right now. Teresa, will you be our sergeant today? Oh, okay, Mike, the baton is passed. I'm not walking this microphone around anymore. You gotta come to me. You were very successful. Okay. You're very young. I never missed a chance to see everybody. Yeah.
Well, on this sunny autumn day, I am really happy, not just because the $49,000 global grant just got dispersed from Mongolia. And but also maybe it has something to do with today being my 70th birthday.
That's a dollar.
And it's Yom Kippur this evening, so I have to go and come from whatever I got to say.
Then Laura was introduced at Judy and I, now for the class of Dayton Oakwood High School, celebrated Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at Marine Country Club in Dayton, Ohio. And I had one time, we put Judy, put Laura up for all the one, not related to that other person spelled differently. Or all of them. These two were classmates, and she was one before me who one passed away in South Carolina and was one in Phoenix. She lived in Boulder, Colorado, and Judy lives here. And so those four were best friends all through high school and since. And we're just welcoming her on the way back to the airport. Thank you.
Why do you think it was supposed to be correct?
We'll get started here. Raise your hand if you got the pen that you wrote on Monday at the new Worthington High School. Here, that's something to see. So, sorry I missed that. I got down, off that now, for not being there. Anybody else who didn't make it, please put them down. Pretty people. Well, let's see, that was, yeah, I graduated there a few years ago. So, 72 was when I graduated. It's been a couple of days since I've been here. I am still in the school, but the hallway is still there.
It's a question.
All right, what else we have here? Anybody who has not signed up to. Take a look at the Woodward Park. Raise your hand, you raise your hand, just a moment. Not, I'm gonna get to, that project is set to kick up here in October 18th. So, we're gonna show up, we have a few trees that you can help plant, we have some fingers drawn down. Yeah, there should be a fun project, so, hope to see you right there. Raise your hand, we're already going through Halloween decorations now. Oh, man, everybody else get down. The same thing, I'm going to go to half. Today, today is. Yeah. First. And you know what that is now? Okay, national holidays today. United States and international. And everybody named, two of those holidays. Everybody? Two of the ones that have on the list was put there. And I read those for you. I mean, they also fire up day. I'm not living there either. National Chewing Gum Day. Hot Rod Spice Cider Day. Yeah, I mean, Holiday. Basically, I missed that. That's for sure. Vegetarian Day. Sausage Day. Back to school day. Now, I don't know about you, but when I was younger, I always forgot to school. So that's just the way it was. And, I can't remember. Girlfriend Day. What comes up with those good points? That's what I'm about. Thank you.
Because of all this walking around with a microphone thing that I had to do, that threw me right off. But if anybody has announcements, please come on up and put forward. If not, I'm on to the next thing, which is I would very much like to invite Chuck Taylor and Elliot Bandoli and Judy Barnhart and Scott Lawrence to come forward. The initiation I've heard about. This is, there we go.
Step up, yeah.
That sounds good. If I can keep them kicking out today as close to the wires as we can. That's the same. Okay. Fellow Rotarians, it's the duty of our Rotary Club to have new members from time to time. We will increase our usefulness and influence as a club, but also to extend the spirit of Rotary throughout the community. Today, I welcome to our ranks and admit to membership Chuck Taylor and Elliot Benville. Rotarians, Chuck and Elliot, you've been elected to membership in this club. Is your fellow members believe you to be worthy representation? Colin also possess qualities that you exemplify the true spirit of Rotary, public, business, and social property. I wish to impress upon you that you have been admitted not only to the Rotary Club of Worthington, but to the Worldwide Association, virtually your membership in this club. You will be welcomed into any fellowship of any Rotary Club in the world. The honor and privilege of Rotary membership carries with it duties and obligations. You'll be expected to attend club meetings and to perform your share of club service and place your knowledge and talents at the disposal of the club in its task of caring for the principles of Rotary, daily life of the community. I ask all members to rise, please, at this time. Rotarian Chuck Taylor, in the name of the Dublin Worthington Rotary Club, I now formally admit you to membership in this club. Judy Barnhart, will you please affix this joy, if you will, a Rotary pin and badge? Mr. Taylor. Rotarian Elliot, I'm going to let you do that while I carry on. This could be a while. I know I can't. Rotarian Elliot Benjamin, in the name of the Dublin Worthington Rotary Club, you can choose it. And Scott Boros will fix your lapel. And that's.
Yeah, I guess it goes on like this. Really true. And this I'm gonna give to you. I know.
No worries.
Fellow Rotarians, to you, our newest members, Rotarian Chuck Taylor. And Elliot Benjamin, and ask all of you to welcome them. Thank you very much. And Judy and Scott will each have a little word about each of you. There you go.
Welcome, Chuck. I'm delighted that you're a member of our club. I know that you're going to thrive here. This is a win-win for all of us, for the Dublin Worthington Club, and of course Chuck, who's devoted to service above self, and he'll live out that motto as we know it. Chuck formerly worked for, I'm going to get this right this time, the State Auto Insurance for 42 years as the Voice and Data Communications Director. He's been involved with Mid-Ohio Food Bank, the Big Brother Association, United Way, League of Women Voters, Mid-Ohio, and the Columbus Metropolitan Club. So you can see he has the background, knowing what service is, and will be involved with our club as well. Again, welcome, Chuck. Thank you.
Yes. That's a $5 one, but okay, we'll give you credit for it.
I'd like to welcome Elliot and Lloyd. It's Elliot with one G, by the way, so we have to spell his name the right way. Elliot is the husband to Laura. He has two children. When his kids were growing up, he was a scout leader and a chess instructor. So smart guy. Kids went to Worthington School. There you go. Elliot right now is a professor at the Fisher College of Business and OSU. He specializes in operations management. He really enjoys his interactions with his clients, which I think is really interesting. He's the editor-in-chief of the Operations Management Journal, so he's got his chops there, and he's skilled at developing solutions in Excel. So I am looking forward to that. He can help us a lot. Anyway, enjoys biking and hiking with his family. He needs a mass. And he's looking for a home.
Yeah.
So he might not say that. And I'm looking forward to Alan, participating in our community service projects, becoming more involved. We got the right background and we're looking forward to reading.
Appreciate it. You are dismissed. Return to your seats. And Lisa, if you would do us the honor to introduce our speaker.
Thank you so much. If you could please join me in welcoming Franklin County Auditor Michael Cinciano. Michael has been serving as our county auditor since 2019 and was re-elected for a second term in 2022. A Columbus native, Michael grew up in the university community and has built his career around fairness, service, and community impact. His path has taken him from Franklin County Board of Elections, where he oversaw some of the nation's largest and most seamless presidential elections, to the Ohio General Assembly, Columbus City Council, and now the Auditor's Office. Along the way, he's championed small business growth, neighborhood improvements, and initiatives like Age-Friendly Columbus, which helps ensure residents of all ages can thrive in our city. Outside of public service, Michael teaches law at Capital University and serves on numerous community boards. He and his wife Carolyn, a CPA, are raising two children, Cooper and Riley, right here in Columbus. Please help me welcome Auditor Michael Cinciano.
You come to the election, you try to convince her to be here shorter. No, I lost that battle. So there is a PowerPoint. Do I need to pull it up? I was told I didn't need folks. If not, I can just do it.
Yeah, so it's
So joining me today is Colleen, because one of our deputy chief of staff. So people often ask, what is the auditor's office? We like to summarize, we protect, connect, and reassess. So the protect piece is what we have overseen a lot of. That is consumer protection, mostly known as the sticker on the gas pump. Very popular function of the auditor's office. If you're ever wondering how to control this or outside the city of Columbus, city of Columbus actually has their own weights and measures scheme. So you'll see a city sticker if you're buying your gas in Columbus, and where you'll see the county button, your essentially required to go anything in a local municipality does it. If you want to send it to a local municipality, use it here. The connect piece is making sure people are aware of what we do, what services we provide. Always quick to remind folks as the treasurer, not the auditor, the treasurer who sends out the property tax bill, but making sure that services we provide are clear. And then the reassess one, that's the big one. That will be primarily what today's PowerPoint focuses on. But at any point you've got questions, at any point you've got feedback or something else you want to talk about, do not hesitate to stop me. I much prefer answering your questions, being able to address things that you'd like to know what the auditor's office does. We're missing more good. Nothing. Excellent. So starting with, they pulled up
the bottom line. Go down, right one to your left. And up just slightly on that icon, right above the arrow. Now click on that. That should start the slide. Should be on that. Well, from beginning, all the way up. I think that's the main.
Why is the same customize the ribbon?
we can make it work from here. So one of the big functions of our recess, the auditor's office is a component of all real estate transfers that occur. So the recorder's office records, the auditor's office takes the transfer. And so we're able for every real estate sale that occurs across Northern County, brings through the office. So we oftentimes show what we're seeing in terms of how real estate sales action in 7 years of serving as the auditor's office. It's been very busy. When we started, things would get listed for sale and be on the market within a week. It's taking a little longer now, but we are still seeing more transactions than we saw a year ago. And so while there are a lot of thoughts of is the real estate market slowing down, sale prices are as they were.
But we're still seeing a lot of growth in our community. A lot of this, like, sales and transactions. Depends on that, some trends. You can always visit the auditor's website. There's a short site, my name will be at the top of it, but it's the website that's gonna provide a lot of information on what transactions are occurring. You'll see a slide later, you can sign up for weekly sales reports, so it's something that Cronus Dispatcher used to do. As the dispatch consolidated and switched the news that comes about a day and a half later, then as it's actually occurring. They have that program, so the dispatch no longer prints the zip code sales, so if you sign up for the website every Sunday or 1 a.m., we will send a zip code across the entire county, so you have search orders. The owner's website is also very popular because people want to know how much the neighbor's house costs. And what the owner's office has their neighbor's house value at. So that is something you can also find on the website.
How long have you been doing that, Mike? Our report.
Putting out the monthly sales about 2 years.
Oh,
Yeah, you're a very constituent driven like this. So now someone saying, hey, you get this information from dispatch. I can't fight it anymore. If you guys put it out. And subsequently, the dispatch was actually pulling information from the owner's website. They eliminated that position in the dispatch consolidation. And so we make that readily available every Sunday.
Still hitting buttons.
So today, along with the Black Dog Day and Open Day, the governor, through the state passed their budget, vetoed a number of provisions that the General Assembly said were committed to addressing property tax or property tax relief. When people asked the governor, why did you do that? He said, I'm going to take the working group. Today, the working group came out with their conclusions or recommendations. So now we have 30 bills pending in the General Assembly, so the 132 members of the General Assembly have 32 pieces of legislation that they suggest may address property tax relief or property tax reform. And then the governor's working group came out with 20 recommendations today. Part of those recommendations is a phrase that we've been using in Franklin County for about 2 years, but it's really taken over across the state, a menu of options. So we suggest a menu of options because we understand every property circumstances, family circumstances are going to be different. So where a circuit breaker model may work for one household, a referral may be better for another. If there is the reason for a neighborhood stability zone, for example. So we've been pitching relief in that menu frame. We'll take anything the General Assembly is willing to pass, even if it's in the budget, the government wants to veto it. But if you're talking about some of their creativity or solutions aren't things you guys even care about. How many of you have ever attended a county budget commission hearing? You've been to one. It was the most exciting. Right? So yeah, one of the solutions is to give myself, the treasurer, and the prosecutor's office, where the members of the budget commission, more authority. I will always take more authority. That more authority is not what you all want to see with property tax relief. Now, the authority they're giving us is saying, you know, the zoo's gonna be on the ballot, the zoo passes the levy. I'm saying, well, zoo, you don't need all that money, maybe one less elephant, and so we're not gonna allow you to charge that additional money. That would be the authority that the General Assembly tried to give us in the budget. The governor vetoed, he wanted to study further. The governor's working group has said we actually would support some of that budget commission authority, so maybe it's gonna come back to us, maybe not. But those are the kind of things that we are looking at. We are hearing all the time concerned about property tax. I pointed out earlier, the auditor's role is the valuation piece. 35% of the auditor's valuation, not the market, the auditor's valuation, and not the market, is what is used combined with your taxing district to get to that property tax bill. The treasurer, not the auditor, the treasurer sends out. So what's unique in the auditor's office, though, is that appraisal component is the one spot any property owner can try and adjust. Your value can go up, your taxes can go down. Your value can go down, your taxes can go up. Given how the Ohio laws work, what issues are going to be put on the ballot, what's going on for taxation. We are required every 3 years to do a reassessment. So in 2026 will be the triennial assessment. That is not a full go out, look at your property from the street assessment, that's master appraisal. We did that in 2023. The triangle is just kind of looking at the spreadsheet. Seeing what is occurring within each delineated neighborhood, so the little subset of the county that we put your property in, and adjusting the valuations based on that. All of this is prescribed by the revised code. If I wanted to come out and say, hey, we're not gonna increase values across the county by more than 5%. And so Harkman Tax actually has a very large stick, they can withhold 50% of local government funds. And every time the county has tried to do something like that, the county loses miserably at the highest Supreme Court. So we work closely with Department of Taxation, and the ones that actually ultimately approve what the changes, percentages are gonna be. We will communicate that out to folks. 2026 is going to be a big year. With that, we Franklin County. Yes.
Talk about school funding and property tax.
Sure. So, how many of you guys looked at your property tax bill? The largest percent of your property tax bill goes to your local school district. So the question on school funding, why is that what has occurred? It has been a piece of Ohio law, a little bit of Ohio myth over decades. The Ohio Constitution requires that public schools are thoroughly funded. And so there is a lawsuit in the late 80s, early 90s called the Roth question, if relying on the property tax is the right way to get one of the worst conversations I've had in my second. Whether or not property taxes are the right way to fund schools. So one time I found myself in an AP government class at South High School. Very smart student raised their hand and said, why is our school not as nice as that? 3.5 miles away. And the answer was property tax. Maybe the most bureaucratic, worst answer you can get to a young person that wants to see the food. But we rely and still do on the property taxes. So when the Roth came out, Supreme Court at the time said the thorough and efficient funding reliance on property taxes is not. General Assembly, you were unconstitutionally funding schools, you need to change it. Tweak some things. If you go to rural areas, you'll see Taj Mahal buildings with declining school districts or other schools. That was the General Assembly's way to have the point. There's also the amazing conversation about a thorough and efficient funding of schools locally. So Worthington just built, renovated a really nice school. They added a pool. Do you need a pool for a thorough and efficient funding of education? Do you need air conditioning for a thorough and efficient funding of education? It is a big conversation where a lot of people went to school with it, went to school, got good education. So the General Assembly should figure that out. We still heavily rely on property taxes, as you know, actually we really property tax bill to fund our schools. At the same time, so the Roth is unconstitutional, gets litigated 3 more times, mentioned Supreme Court change. Ultimately, they decided we're done touching this. General Assembly, we want you to do better. Then we had a couple governors come through, and there has been a trickle over the last 2-3 decades of constantly funding from the state of their to put money into schools, thus relying on local school districts to go to the voters and say, will you support us build another school? Will you support us to bond and make improvements, hire faculty, keep different costs low for student participation activity? And so we are really continuing on that inflection point of school districts going back to the ballot, state not funding that and trying to make up that difference. So when we did the 2023 max reappraisal, on average across Franklin County, values went up 41%. Historic value increase. Had Columbus and Dublin school districts not passed that November, about 55% of the very property owners' taxes would have been flat or actually decreased. It's just those asks were at that number and it impacted so many properties. Instead of that 55%, it went down to about 7. So that's how much what we vote on in funding schools, the zoo, some different services of the county, impact that property tax. That answer a fairly long-winded way, but I think we're going to
So where's the reassessment then? Well, if the property values are going up so high, Mike, why don't the schools and all the other institutions that benefit from property tax, why don't they get more money?
Great question. So when values go up 41%, none of the levies or bonds that exist, they don't increase 41%. The General Assembly in the eighties passed something called House Bill 120, so there's tax equalization. So when the libraries, say we want to raise $300 million, that's the entire pie they're asking voters for. They can never get more or less than that, even during the valuation cycle. So they're always at that fixed amount. So that's why you hear from school districts in particular saying, hey, we're at this fixed amount, the state's not cutting us, we need to make up that difference, we're gonna come back to the meters at the beginning. There is absolutely levy fatigue occurring. It's a hard time to get things passed. We are a very generous community. We continue to improve things, so we will have to talk about two things that will be on the ballot. There are other reduction programs, homestead being the biggest one that currently exists at the state farms. So always want to remind folks that qualify for the Ohio homestead exemption to make sure you're receiving that benefit. Homestead will be a deduction of the taxable value, so you would pay less in property taxes if you qualify. The kicker is the qualification fee. So when it was originally introduced, there was an age and economic piece. The governor came in, got rid of the economic piece, it was just age. A whole bunch of Ohioans qualified. Different governor came in, had different budget issues, and he came back and put back an economic piece. That economic piece is not growing with inflation, and at no point are we seeing residents qualify at the rate that our population is engaging. But it is a program that exists. It's one of the minimum, it's one of the menu options you'll hear. It's something out of the 30 bills in the General Assembly, and I guess about 5 of them are trying to modernize or update at least that economic piece to the homestead exemption. Yes.
Can you give us some guidelines on the homestead exemption age and money?
Sure. So you have to be 28, or you have to be 65 years or older. Property has to be a primary residence, and your total income requirement has to be $40,000 a year. And it's that economic piece that people are just not qualified. So then they ended up saying, we moved to Florida. Florida's got a much better homestead exemption component. Please remove us from owning property. It's not a primary residence.
3,000 for a person or
So 400,000 with 40,000.
Is income, earned income, or is it all income?
It's gonna be all.
what do you task force recommendation for that level to go up?
They just said to modernize. I did not see an actual, So yeah, another like something I do for the economic piece. Just put it back in the age. You've hit 65, you've won the race. Like we don't need to be continuing to build off the back. And that's part of the discussion. I think one of the recommendations actually was to allow deferral at 65 and over. So deferral would be, hey, you don't have to pay the property taxes you need now. The state will backfill it, and then if there's a sale, the transfer that occurs, and as part of that sale, that tax dollars then will be realized. So everyone gets the whole pie again, but just different ways to do it. Deferral exists in a number of other states. Minnesota, for example, is the best model of deferral. But we hear from folks on homestead all the time, how great West Virginia's homestead is. But we're not making a difference. Where the General Assembly pushes back on homestead is the deduction that that property owner receive is made up by the state. So if it was qualifying and they got a $100 deduction, the state's paying that $100 distribution. So the state is very clear they don't want to put any more money into solutions. We're going to keep pushing them to the locals. That's where we're kind of logged in.
What is the credit?
What is
What is the credit that's applied?
So it's going to be a portion of the honors appraised value, essentially reduced. 28,000. Yes.
So if the school district and the libraries don't get as much money, or get the same amount, why are my taxes going up?
Because of what is going on in your taxing district. So it really is going to depend if they are going back to the ballot. So the taxes shouldn't be going up unless a new levy was passed or that the real value jumped up so much more. So recent sale is going to drive the tax increase if there's nothing additional money. So we've got two issues on the ballot. One is going to result in a value increase if it passes. It's the zoo. If the zoo passes, that is going to cause everyone's property taxes to increase regardless of the auditor's valuation. We mentioned on the auditor site, property search, very important. We do ask property owners to visit. It's the information we rely on when we're setting our valuation. We never go inside our home. That's why property owners play such an important role in what's going on. If you haven't updated, if things are falling apart, if there's damage or destroyed, flooding, we're not gonna know that. We're gonna rely on property owners for us. Our values go to based on the models that we do, but we really, the model is as good as the information we're providing. So having property owners work with us. Again, property search is also very popular because people want to see what's going on with the neighbors, what their values are, what is occurring in their neighborhood. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you talking about the city of the taxes of taking money. My understanding that during the city of Delaware.
South Dakota, it's all in Delaware County. No. So way back when the zoo was located in Clintonville, and there was the grand bargain of they need more land, we're gonna invest in the zoo, we're gonna move it up to Delaware County. But Franklin County wanted to maintain some authority and control. So you've got a lot of board members that are appointed or assigned from city of Columbus County. And that seemed to be the grand. I think heard loud and clear, and a lot of people are wondering why. Franklin County residents subsidize the zoo through an issue where it becomes Delaware County employment.
Do you know anything about the cattle management of the zoo?
I don't know anything about the power.
It's a rumor that cattle is annexed to in.
Potentially.
I don't know what that means.
And so the other controversy with the zoo is that now the requiring your charge user fee. So every time you go to the zoo, you get billed an extra $1. Franklin County residents are supposed to get a lower amount. But there's a change in state law, allowing for them that was meant more for concerts, but is it qualified as an activity or an space? But we'll see. Again, I think there's continues to be a lot of discussion of that arrangement. We'll see how they go on the ballot. I think the zoo is in a unique spot, given some of the criticism that they received and some of the fiscal management to now turn that page, no longer be investigated with the state auditor. And here we go to the ballot. We'll see what happens. Talked about the calendar. So we're going to be next year, the triennial update. So we send, essentially we use 1/1, the 26th is the tax lien date. So we freeze the values, freeze what we're looking at. We'll ultimately submit stuff to the Department of Taxation, and they'll give us the thumbs up. Then we will notify all property owners. Here's the auditor's valuation. That is a tentative valuation. If you disagree, there are going to be many opportunities before we get to a final valuation to work with the auditor's office, say we think it's too high, we think it's too low. We want to make sure you're accounting for square footage or combined lots, all those things. So there's in-person meetings, there's opportunities to submit documentation. We will be notifying people of all of that activity around August of the next year. Ultimately, if we don't hear from you, auditor's tentative value will carry forward and be a final value. That final value, 35% of which was what will be used for your property taxes the following year. Always remind folks, we pay property taxes in arrears. Best way I've ever heard it described: when you go to a nice dinner, you don't pay the check before you eat, pay it afterwards. So when you're paying your taxes in arrears, it's the services you've already received. So streets, fire protection, libraries, and then the taxes that you're being billed for the previous year. A nuanced piece, it causes a lot of confusion for folks, particularly for getting tax abatements. But when it gets applied, we work with folks on that all the time.
Mike, a couple of years ago, you mentioned the word freeze, but a couple of years ago, maybe like, I don't know, 10 years ago, the auditor froze the valuation. They didn't raise them. Tell us why you're going to do that again.
Well, great question. So when we went through the recession, property values dropped, the bucket fell out. And the auditor at the time was very concerned about how that was going to impact the agencies and entities that relied on property taxes. So instead of reducing everyone's value, got approval from the Department of Taxation at the time to freeze that value. And so instead of seeing everyone's values sink, They froze it, they carried it through one cycle, and then we started seeing what we're now seeing, historic value increase. Preview next year, we will not have historic residential property value increase. It will go up, again, it's not a one-to-one, so the values can go up 41%, on average property taxes increase about 7%. And so we're just trying to find that sweet spot. And then when you hear the 41%, granted that's for Appraisal, anyone living in Whitehall? Probably not. Their average increase was 70%. Their median sale price was less than $200,000. So what's that telling us? And if you talk to folks in Whitehall, there was a price point for families to buy in, for them to move into the community at that price point. In contrast, Grandview had the smallest value average increase, which is about 17%. Their median sale price of a house that is about $700,000. So there's only so much, and then I always pick on the quality. You can only have so many $1 million homes, $1 million properties. So you don't see a giant swing because everyone's house is listed about 1.3 million across the particular. But amazing to look at. And so that impacts where you'll see jumps in percentage increases, but depending on what's going on within that tax district, nobody's taxes should have gone up 71% in Whitehall, unless they were a recent buyer and should have done it with the previous valuation.
We like, we looked at our assessment for our house, and it had on there that our house had fallen ceilings all the way to that house, so right. We went in and we told them to show pictures of Tony in the living room and in the little yard.
Yeah.
So you need to look at that.
Not reiterating what the property owner plays a huge role in informing us. We do not have it inside your home. There is always the question of, well, we have, particularly when you're seeing new communities come up. I mean, the model is A, B, or C. Why are we able to open it? We're doing better. But it has been a little bit of mystery, changes with vendors. All that said, property owner absolutely plays a role and can work with our office to make sure we're getting the right valuation. Proposed levies this November, we're going to have 2 countywide, the zero and H, that's alcohol, drug, and alcohol. There's also going to be a number of other local levies. If you visit the auditor's website, we have a ballot levy estimator. So before you go to the polls on election day or cast the absentee ballot early, you can see the impact that is going to have. At the same time, there is some confusion. Anyone aware of what Columbus's big, beautiful bond bill? Big bond package on the ballot, 5 different pieces, over billions of dollars. The way Columbus schools care, and it has historically been true, they don't go and seek a property tax increase if that bond package is approved. They rely on fees and on the water bill to make up that difference. That has been the history of how Columbus has funded bonds since like 19.